And let's see here. Let me check on my side also. And we are live indeed, and this is fantastic. Yeah. I'm just checking here on my phone also. Anyway, it's not showing up here.
Yes, Mataji, same thing here.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I found it here. This is good. And this is live, so this is fantastic. So I can switch it up. Okay. And so let's see who else joined us. Oh, Sukumal Radhe Mataji from India and Machana Mataji from India. Fantastic. Okay, so let us get started. We already have Satapa and Simi Mataji here. Om Jnanatimrandasya Jnananjan Shalakya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. God Premanande, Hare Hare Bol. Okay, so what verse are we supposed to do today?
4.17,
4.17, and that is correct. Okay, so chapter number 4 from the Bhagavad-gita is about transcendental knowledge. And Krishna has been talking to Arjuna about imparting this, how it gets broken down, how it starts, and things like that. And it's knowledge, the transcendental knowledge, and the highest knowledge is knowledge about Krishna. And he had said that it is difficult to understand his birth and his actions. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvata, the famous verse that we have. And so let's do a little bit more from the previous sessions that we have. And I wanted to emphasize particularly on verse number 413, which talked about Krishna creating the 4 Varna systems, or the 4 orders of society, right? And what does he say about the 4 orders of society? Does anybody remember?
That I have created the
Very good.
4 divisions, and although I am the creator of this, I'm not the I'm the non-doer. And
I'm not involved in all this, right?
Yeah,
exactly. And he had also said that this division that he had made, right? These 4 divisions that he had made, and I'm bringing that up here for you. So Chatur Varnya Maya Shrishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha Tasya Kartaram Apimam Vidya Kartaram Avyayam, right? So this was a piece that I was saying, Guna Karma Vibhagasaha. So he has divided these into sections, and the 4 sections are based on the modes and the consciousness that they have. And so what are the 4 varnas, by the way?
Brahmana, Kshatriya,
Vaishya,
and Shudra. Okay, so that's very good. And I would like to welcome Jayashree Mataji. I think that is who is there on our call. Did I get you right? Did I get your name right?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so Jayashree actually met Apara Gaurangi Mataji, and she's from in the temple. And so Apara told me Jayashree Mataji is very much into Krishna consciousness, and she wanted to have her join the call. And she's based in Fremont, so she's from the Bay Area. So good coverage. Yeah, if you're lucky, we will have Khyati Mataji and Niral Babu also join us maybe sometime. They're also from Fremont, Jayashree, so that's why. So thank you so much for joining us here. We have a variety of devotees from all over USA and actually all over the world, I must say, because we have 2 Matajis, Sukumal Radhe Mataji and Varshana Mataji. I think Varshana dropped off. Both of them are from India. Varshana is still here. And then the rest of us, which is well, so Kumalade Mataji is usually based from the Bay Area. She's visiting India, so that's why she's there. But Sutapa Mataji is from New York, and Simi is from the Bay Area, and so are you. And so Devi Mataji is from Palo Alto, again Bay Area, and Namazia Mataji is from down Southern California here for us. So thank you so much, Matajis, for joining us. And we'll continue with our verse for today, but just setting one little bit of a background that Krishna had talked about, that he has created these 4 orders of society. And these orders were based on the karma, right? According to the way he has divided them, according to the consciousness that he has. And so looking up over here, it says that according to the 3 modes of material nature and the work associated with them, right? So there is some work which is in the mode of goodness, some work which is in the mode of passion, some in the mode of ignorance, and depending on the mode that you are in, the kind of work and the type of work that you will do will be very different, right? So can you give me an example of a work which is done in the mode of goodness? Can somebody give me that example? Anybody work ever in the mode of goodness?
Like doing annadanam or distributing
Annadanam.
food to the poor.
The poor. Okay, good. That's good. What about work in the mode of passion? Nobody does the work in passion here, right? So it's difficult for you to tell me.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Rachana.
Yes, Mataji, working in passion is like, you see, Kshatriyas, they work in passion. They have to be
Give me an
passionate
example.
to...
Give me an example of a work in passion. One example, simple, one.
Like, you see, we cooking food in the kitchen.
Cooking food in the kitchen. So for whom?
Now, if it is cooked for Krishna, it is in the mode of goodness. But if it is cooked for the family, for our own self-enjoyment, then it is in the mode of passion.
Okay, so let's elaborate a little bit. If you're cooking it for Krishna, is it in the mode of goodness?
Pure goodness.
It's in the mode of pure goodness, right? Yeah, Shuddha Sattva, which is transcendental. Because anything that you do, and actually, pretty soon in this chapter, we're going to have a verse. Very, very beautiful verse. I'm not going to give it away to you yet, but which talks about that how when you are working for Krishna, it is a transcendental work. Okay, so mode of passion. What is mode of ignorance?
Mataji, all the time sleep is considered to be mode of ignorance.
Mode of ignorance. Yeah, somebody might argue that what work are you doing when you're sleeping, by the way? Right? You're sleeping. So
But I have a question, Mataji, but you need sleep for your body. Otherwise, you won't be able to perform. So
that's a totally different line of thought. Yes, and I agree that it is required, right? But my question was that somebody might say sleep is required, but I'm just saying that sleeping is not working, right? You're saying it is required.
Gambling and all, Mataji, it will fall in the work in the mode of...
It is fall in the work of the mode of ignorance, right?
Yeah, drinking
Yeah.
and
Also, sometimes we might think that, for example, giving away food, you said, is a pious activity, right? It's an activity in the mode of goodness. But if you are, what food are you giving? Right? So what you are giving away will also control and define the kind of activity that you're doing. For example, there are chicken soups, right? Come Thanksgiving, there'll be a lot of turkey for the poor, right? So on the surface, it looks at a noble charity work that we are doing, right? I give money for 1,000 turkeys to be slaughtered and given away, right? Is that mode of goodness? No, right? So charity can also be done in the mode of ignorance, right? And it can be very much a work there, right? So depending on the consciousness that is there, you will do the work. And according to that, he's saying that I have divided this human society accordingly, right? Then let's see, for the sake of connectivity, what did we do last week? Last week was a nice one, right? Kim karma kim akarmiti kaviyopya atramohitaha tatte karma pravakshyami yajgyatva mokshase shubhat. Right? And it said that even the intelligent, and what was the word used for intelligence in this verse? Do you remember? There was one word that was used for those who are intelligent.
Kavayaha.
Cover. Yeah.
Yaha, right? So kavi, right? So where we say that kavi, and we said kavi is not just someone who is making arithmetical poetry, right? Kavi is, the one who is knowledgeable and intelligent, and he comes up with a unique idea. That is what a kavi is. And so who is the best of all the kavis?
Krishna.
Krishna, of course. Yeah, that was an obvious answer in this class for sure. Yeah, so Krishna is the Kavi, and then he says that in the Bhagavad-gita later on, the coming chapters where we talk about the opulences of Krishna, right? So he was saying that even if you're a Kavi, then you will get bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. And this is the concept that will continue in today's verse also, right? So we talked about that last week, that even the most intelligent are bewildered. What to talk about us, right? So because Arjuna had said in chapter 2 of Bhagavad-gita, he had said, Na yotsyami iti Govinda, Govinda, I will not fight. So that is inaction. But he had all the positive and all the good reasons not to fight. So he was thinking that his inaction, he's actually doing a very great job, right? By not fighting, I'm doing a great job. So you see how by not doing something also sometimes you're doing, that is what his thought was. And he threw up his hand, so to speak, right? Because remember what was in his hand?
Bow and arrow.
His Gandiva.
Gandiva, yeah. His Gandiva was in his hand, right? And he set aside his Gandiva and went to the back of the chariot in the first chapter, last verse, right? So he did that. And so he's throwing up his hand and he's saying, I don't want to do anything, right? And then Draupadi also threw up her hands. When did she throw up her hands?
To
When
ask for
she
protection from
totally-
Krishna. When she was getting disrobed.
And she was getting disrobed, right? But we have to remember the difference between Arjuna throwing up his hands and Draupadi throwing up his hands, right? Arjuna was using his intelligence all along, right? And through his intelligence, he was making his decisions, right? He had not consulted Krishna in the first chapter. And then based on that, he said, I won't fight, right? He threw up his hands. On the other hand, Draupadi, when Draupadi threw up her hands, that was a throwing up of the hands after she tried every possible way to save herself. And then in the end, it was complete, hey Govinda, hey Gopala, right? That's what she sang that time. And so she's throwing up her hands in complete surrender to the Lord, that I have tried everything. And it was a sweet surrender. Like, I tried everything, Lord, I cannot do it, right? So you see, the way people decide not to do any action, there is a lot that goes behind that also for us to understand. And as we proceed here and as we study and as we live our lives, there will be times when we'll be very bewildered by the actions other people are doing, and we might just think that they are horrible actions or they're inactive. Why are they not doing it? Why don't they say something? Why are they keeping quiet? But you never know. So Krishna is saying that it is even the intelligence, even the kavis or the intelligent get bewildered. Now keep in mind that we talked about that Krishna is the best of the kavis, right? So he said Krishna is the best of the kavis, and we just look at kavi as somebody who does poetry, right? Can you tell me one important poetry or some poetry that Krishna is the author of?
Srimad Bhagavad-gita.
Bhagavad-gita, there you go. It's right in front of you. Gita means?
Song of the God.
Song of God, right? Bhagavad means God and Gita means song of God. It is a song. So Krishna has created a song, right? So let us go and look at the next verse from this song. Okay, so I'm going to start sharing my screen again here with you. And let's see, what do we have? So today's verse is verse number 17. And here we go. Karmano hi api bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gatihi. Karmano hi api bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gatihi. Karmano hi api bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gatihi. So my question to you, how does that verse sound when you heard that?
Very rhythmic.
Really, what?
It is very rhythmic.
It was very rhythmic. Okay. Yeah. So Tapa, you were saying something?
Yes, it's like a song.
It was like a song, right? Okay.
And Mataji, all the 4 lines, you see, they had similarity in it. Like, you see, karmano hi api bodhavyam. And then in the 3rd line also bodhavyam. Then vikarmana gatihi. Means it is, I don't know what to call it, but there is a sequence, some kind of, which gives a very nice rhythm to the shloka.
And for those of you who don't know that Varshana Mataji, we all know, is a kavi, right? She does poetry. So she's able to see that thing, right? So it is such a beautiful poetry, and that's why we say that Krishna is a poet, right? And look at the circumstances in which he's speaking the Bhagavad-gita. What is happening around him?
War.
Chapter 1, Bhagavad-gita.
War.
Those who attend the morning class, what is happening? Tatha shankhascha bhairyascha panavanak gomukhaha sahasa vyabhihanyanta, right? And then Sughoshamani Pushpako, Panchajanya Rishikesham, right? Yoga Dattam Dhananjaya, Deva Dattam Dhananjaya, Pandram Dadbhav Mahashankam, Bhima Karma Vrakodara, right? So we hear him, right? Kashasya Parameshvasa, Shikhandi Cha Maharata, Shankham Dadbhav Putak Putak. There's so much of noise going on, right? And then when we are sitting and trying to read the Bhagavad Gita, if somebody makes a little noise and we say like, shh, keep quiet, can't you see I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita? But in the midst of all this chaos, Krishna is spouting beautiful poetry like that, right? So let's look at this poetry again, because I wanted to bring out a particular nuance in this poetry. And back again to our poetry. So Krishna is saying that Karmano hi api bodhavyam. So let's see. Karmanaha, of work. He, certainly. Api, also. Bodhavyam should be understood. Bodhavyam should be understood. Cha, also. Vikarmanaha, of forbidden work. Akarmanaha, of inaction. Cha, also. Bodhavyam should be understood. Gahana, very difficult. Karmana, of work. Gatihi, entrance. Right? The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is and what forbidden action is and what inaction is, right? So 3 things: action, forbidden action, and inaction. Right? Now, let's go back and look at this and enjoy the beautiful poetry here. Karmano hi api bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha. Akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gatihi, right? So he's talking about karmano hi api bodhavyam. That is, you understand that one should properly understand what action is. So he's saying karmano hi api bodhavyam. Karmano we see is work. So you understand that. Bodhavyam cha vikarmana, also understand vikarmana. So understand karmana and also understand vikarmana. Akarmanascha bodhavyam, also understand akarmanas. Like 3 things he's talking about, right? So this style of poetry, where we have, as Varshana Mataji pointed out, that we have karmana, Bodhavyam, and then Bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha, right? So the same word was Bodhavyam here, and then we have the words repeated here also, right? So this style of doing the poetry is known as chiasmus, chiasmus. How do I write it down and show it to you? Chiasmus, it's an English word that I'm saying. Chiasmas, chiasmus. Sorry, I spelled it wrong. Chiasmus, right? This style of poetry is known as chiasmus. Or in Hindi or in Sanskrit, it is known as vyatikrama. Vyatikrama. And what happens in vyatikrama is that we will, for making an emphasis on whatever information that I'm trying to convey, I will put it across in such a way so that the emphasis is more, so that my concept or my thought that I'm trying to share gets emphasized. And so, for example, ask not what the nation can do for you. Ask what you can do for the nation. So you see, we are talking about ask not what the nation can do for you. Ask, we're saying go in the opposite direction. It's orthogonal, not opposite, orthogonal, something very different. You're asking what the nation can do for me. I'm saying, no, what can you do for the nation, right? So it's an orthogonal at 90 degrees, right? If I twist it over here, it becomes this, right? Like this in shape. And let me share my screen here because I wanted to show you a picture of why this is called chiasmus. So the reason for this being called a chiasmus is coming from Greek language. And in the Greek language, there's a letter called chi, and it looks like this. Okay, can you see it? Which letter from our English language does it resemble?
X.
The X, right? So chiasmus is actually for resembles an X. And so the idea is that by saying that, or that by putting the words in such a way, the emphasis is made that, okay, karma no bodhavyam is saying that, okay, you understand what is karma. You can understand what is karma, but that is not sufficient, right? You have to also understand what are the other aspects of it. What is the opposite thing of karma, right? And what is something which is not karma? Understand both of them. So vikarmana, he's saying understand that also, right? And then akarmana, understand that also. So he's saying, he's emphasizing that. Actually, I had talked about this concept a long time ago when we were having COVID days and having Bhagavad-gita class every day, right? And I brought up a verse from Bhagavad-gita where they were talking about the nature of the soul. So Arjuna, who is so confused in the battle of Kurukshetra, and he's thinking of all his family members in front of him and saying they're going to die, I don't want to kill them. And then Krishna in chapter 2 brings in the concept of the soul, right? And he talks about, Nashushati Maruta, it cannot be dried by the air, cannot be made wet, cannot be cut to pieces, and all that he's telling about that, right? And then one of the things that he's trying to emphasize over there is that this soul is not going to change, and this soul doesn't die, right? So in a verse in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna compares and then brings in this chiasmus again, right? The chiasmus here is that he talks about that the soul doesn't die, but the body does die, right? So he's making a comparison. And so that's now we kind of wake up from it, right? Your teacher is saying, the soul does not die, soul does not die, but the body, dies, like that. So a chiasmus puts things in the opposite direction. So let me bring up that verse, which is from Bhagavad Gita chapter 2. And it is, anybody remember? Here we go. Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha, ubayor api drishtontas, vayanosh tattvadarshabhihi. They said those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, which is the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both, right? So it's important in our philosophical pursuits, that when you are trying to understand something, you have to understand and get a 360 degrees view, which means like 180 degrees opposite. Also, if you're looking at east, you should also know what is west and also know what is north and what is south, right? Then your knowledge is complete. And in the Nectar of Instructions or Ishopanishad, it is said that, right? Vidyamscha avidyamscha yat. That you should know what is vidya. You should also know what is avidya, because then they don't know. Like a small child, right? A small child knows that he should eat food. So mother brings some nice rice pudding and the child eats it. He knows this is for eating. But does the child know what are the things not to be eaten? That has also got to be taught, right? What are the things that children put in their mouths? Anybody had children?
Anything to put in the mouth.
Anything, right? So that is what it is, that you should not be putting anything. So similarly, when it comes to Krishna Katha, right? And we were talking about different types of listeners. We said that there's the Swati listener, right? Who listens only to Krishna Katha and won't listen to anything else. It makes a distinction. A bull listener is like a bull. You throw anything and everything and it'll eat everything, right? Similarly, there are listeners who will go and listen to everything. Yeah, so today you're talking about film stars. Oh yeah, I'll go, right? No. So you have to understand the difference and make the distinctions between them. So that's why, for emphasis purposes, Krishna is saying that, karma, akarma, vikarma, you all have to understand that, right? So what do you think is karma then? He said that akarmanasya bodhavyam.
Jayashree Mataji, you are on mute. You are saying something, right?
And I can't see the screen. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, she has to unmute.
Please unmute yourself, Mataji. I think you'll have to take help from your son if you are not familiar with Zoom. I can't unmute. It was a new thing from Zoom. Yeah, I can ask her to unmute. That's all I can do. You have to press something, Mataji. Yeah, she got it now.
Karma is action performed.
Karma is action performed.
Yes.
Okay, good. What is akarma? What is vikarma?
Vikarma is action which is not to be performed.
Which is not to be performed. Okay, very good. And what is akarma?
Karma is again strictly prohibited karma.
Strictly prohibited karma.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Okay, let's see. It's difficult. So I'm not pointing finger or saying anything, because Krishna himself is saying Gahana karmano gati. It's very difficult to understand what is karma, right?
Yes.
Let's look at that. Let's look at a verse, and we had brought this verse also last time. Let me bring it up here again. And let's look at this. Trying to share my screen. And welcome Khyati Mataji and Neeral Prabhu. You have a neighbor from Fremont joining us here today on our call. So
Right.
let me know, can you see that?
Yeah, we can see this.
Karmanevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbhur ma te sangostva karmani. Right, so here it's saying that akarmani, that is akarma, he's saying that not doing your prescribed duties is akarma. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you're not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty, right? So akarma over here is described as not doing your duty. Now, we also know that when we talk about karma, we know about the karmic reactions, right? So when you do karma, you get some reactions to that karma. So for what type of karma you get a reaction?
Any karma, good and bad.
Any karma, good and bad, you're going to get reactions. For good karma, you'll get good reaction. For bad karma, you'll get bad reaction, right? So what exactly is when exactly will you get a result? Okay. So for example, if I sit here and eat like 12 mangoes or 25 mangoes, then I will have a pain in my tummy in the night. And so there is an immediate reaction to that karma. Okay. Or if I study hard, then I will get good marks. Then there is a result that will come, right? Or if I study hard for my school or and then for my college, I will likely get a good job, right? So sometimes the results of the karma are immediate, and sometimes it takes a long time for the results to fructify, right? And so let us look at one story from Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, let's look at one story, and we have been to this story fairly recently, but I'll just see if I liked it. I like it a lot. It's one of my favorite stories. I'm just trying to find out, and let me know if you're able to see my screen. Beginning to share that with you. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So Shukdev Goswami said, "O king, once upon a time, the king of heaven, Indra, being extremely proud because of his great opulence of the three worlds, transgressed the law of Vedic etiquette. Seated on his throne, he was surrounded by the Maruts, Vasus, Rudras, Adityas, Ribhus, Vishwadevas, Sadhyas, Ashwini Kumaras, Siddhas, Jananas, and Gandharvas, and by the great saintly persons. Also surrounding him were the Vidyadharas, Apsaras, Kinnaras, Patagas, and Urugas. All of them were offering Indra their respects and services, and the Apsaras and Gandharvas were dancing and singing with very sweet musical instruments. Over Indra's head was a white umbrella as effulgent as the full moon. Fanned by the whisk tails and served with all the paraphernalia of a great king, Indra was sitting with his wife Shraddha-devi, who occupied half the throne, when the great sage Brihaspati appeared in the assembly. Brihaspati, the best of the sages, was like the spiritual master of Indra and the demigods, and was respected by the demigods and demon alike. Nevertheless, although Indra saw his spiritual master before him, he did not arise from his own seat or offer a seat to his spiritual master, nor did Indra offer him a respectful welcome. Indra did nothing to show his respect. So let's see. Let's start from here. Seated on his throne, he was surrounded by Maruts and these persons. So do you see some activity happening in this sentence? And who is doing some activity?
No, Mataji, everyone just seated.
He's seated there. Okay, so he's doing something. He's seated, just from the word, doing some action. And who else? Is there anybody else who's doing any work in this sentence? Gahana karmano gatihi. It is difficult to understand, right? So a person might say that, well, Maruts, Vasus, Rudras, what are they doing? I don't know what they are doing. They are surrounding him. So they are maybe standing, they're sitting, they're sleeping, who knows, right? But there is some kind of action that is, but surrounded is a verb, right? So there is some action there going on there, right? Maybe not very active. Similarly, if you look at the next, if we look at the sentence after that, right? Also surrounding him were the Vidyadharas, Apsaras, birds, snakes, etc. So they are also doing something. At least they have come from wherever they are there, right? Now let's look at this sentence. The next one. Do you see some action happening in the next sentence?
Yes, Mataji, dancing, singing.
Okay. What
Offering
else?
respect and services.
Offering respect and services, dancing and singing going on. So you see some karma happening there, right? Okay. And then over Indra's head was a white umbrella as effulgent as the full moon, right? So there is no karma actually happening right now. We can see over here, right? But then some karma must have happened previously that somebody must have put the umbrella there, right? Okay, then next sentence.
Yeah, tail whisks and so.
Any action
Fanning.
happening here?
Yeah, fanning with the yak tail whisk.
There is fanning with the yak
With
tail
the
whisk, right? That is
parrot.
happening. And then, of course, his wife must have gotten from somewhere, come from somewhere, and then she's sitting on the throne and she's occupying half the throne there, right? Equality of women, right? Both wife and husband.
He also appeared. So he also came.
Yeah. So, and when the great sage Brihaspati appeared, so Brihaspati is walking into that assembly. So he has done that, right? So, Brihaspati, the best of the sages, was the spiritual master of demigod and was respected by the demigods and demon alike, right? Now let's go back and look at these sentences here, and we see that, what kind of actions are going to bring us some sort of a reaction, right? We said work will bring us some reaction, right? So these are people who are offering them respects, right? Gandharvas, they're dancing, they're singing, they're doing something for the king, right? So they're doing some activity. Is it a bad activity or a good activity if you give respects to your king?
Good.
A good activity, right? So they'll get some good reactions to that, right? So similarly, we can come up over here. And now all of them are doing and invokes Brihaspati, who is the spiritual master of Indra. And nevertheless, although Indra saw his spiritual master before him, he did not rise from his own seat or offer a seat to his spiritual master, nor did Indra offer him a respectful welcome. Indra did nothing to show him respect. Inaction.
Yes.
He did not do anything. Right? So we might just think that, okay, he did not do anything. See, while offering respects to his spiritual master, he can make offenses, right? He can do it in the wrong way and get punished for that. But here, if you just look at it on the face value, he's not doing anything. Right? Now let's proceed further with the story and see what happens. Okay. Brihaspati knew everything that would happen in the future, seeing Indra's transgression of etiquette. So he has Vyatikrama, Maryada Vyatikrama he has done, he transgressed. So the word Vyatikrama, the Kayasmas has happened here, that in his activities, instead of aligning them in parallel to what the Shastras are saying, he has gone orthogonal in 90 degrees to what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to get up and offer respects to the spiritual master. He has not done that. So seeing Indra's transgression of etiquette, so although there is no action on part of Indra, there is inaction on part of Indra. But what is he actually doing? He is, quote unquote, insulting his spiritual master. By not doing something also, you can be doing something. That's the point that I'm trying to show over here, right? So seeing Indra's transgression of etiquette, he completely understood that Indra was puffed up by his material opulence. Although able to curse Indra, he did not do so. Instead, he left the assembly and in silence returned to his home. Right? So the point made over here is that sometimes even by not doing certain things, you are culpable for punishment. For example, if there's a car accident and a man is thrown out of the car and you see and he's bleeding on the road and you drive by and not do anything. Somebody might say he didn't do anything. Well, but if you're a doctor and you did not stop by, then that is considered to be something wrong that you did, or you did not dial 911. Or if you're a photographer and you just stood there and started taking pictures, this is such a fantastic picture. Oh, wow, this thing ghastly. Yeah, there's a vibhats ras that we enjoy, right? The ghastly taste that we have. We like seeing these kind of things also. And so he's taking pictures, right? And not calling 911. So he is moving away from what he's supposed to do. So that is not, a karma. you get punished for that. So intricacies of gahana karmano gati, intricacies of karma are difficult to understand. Like that, right?
Mataji,
So
can I
let's
ask
see.
a question, Mataji?
Who is it?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Jai Shri Prabhupada. I joined the call. I wanted to pay my respectful obeisances to you. And I just...
I'm not going to curse you.
I was going to think whether I should be interrupting your flow of thoughts and saying something, or just remain quiet and talk when addressed something. So I was like thinking in two ways, and then I was thinking you brought up this verse, and I'm feeling more guilty about it. So I was just wanted to ask whether I should usually, if I'm late and I should not be interrupting by saying that I'm here, but I need to say something, right, Mataji?
Yeah, it's a very pertinent question to ask, and I will give you the answer. What should be the etiquette? And I'm not talking in respect to me that, whether you should be offering me respect, although you came and I'm teacher, I'm sitting in this Vyasasana or whatever like that, right? I'm just talking to a general dilemma that devotees have, that their spiritual master is teaching and they are late and they enter the classroom. Should they offer the obeisances to the spiritual master? What should they do, right? And they are late, should they apologize that they are late, right? So in general, and I can tell you what my spiritual master says, and it can vary from others, but in general, the idea is that you should always, actually Shastras say that as soon as you see your spiritual master, you should fall down on the floor and offer him obeisances. Well, do that if there is space. But if there is no space, if there are already 1,000 devotees in the hall, there's absolutely no space to do that, and your spiritual master walks into that assembly, right? What are you supposed to do, right? You can offer him obeisances mentally, right? What if you're in a class and your spiritual master is teaching, and then, don't try to attract his attention or her attention by, saying that I'm late, sorry, I'm late, interrupting the thought. Because when we teach, that these thoughts are not ours. Whenever a person sits on the Vyasasana and speaks Krishna Katha, the inspiration is coming from Krishna. So there's a connection going on from the top, right? It comes to us, and the thought process gets broken down. So it's better not to interrupt the thought process. I was talking about listeners a little while ago, right? So I listed 2 types of listeners. There are actually 6. And so I talked about the Swati bird listener and also about the bull listener, right? Swati bird, very choosy in what she listens, or he. And then we had the bull listener, listens to everybody. There's also somebody known as the wolf listener. The wolf listener is a listener who will enter into the assembly where Krishna Katha is going on and make a lot of noise, right? So one of the things is they are late. They've got the cell phone in their hands. They're trying to talk to somebody over there, and they're trying to finish off that conversation. And maybe they want really to be here or not, but the mind is diverted, bifurcated, that one and this conversation happening in the room. And so they walk into the room with their phone in hand and they're continuing their conversation. And that is Maryata Vratikama. That is strictly a no-no, right? You should not do that whenever somebody is there. And then they come and they sit down. They have a bunch of keys in their hands and they make a lot of noise with that key, right? And then, they look around, what verse is going on? What verse is that teaching? In a loud voice, you ask them that question, right? Instead of doing that, you quietly come in as a mouse, sit down, and you will figure it out after some time what verse is being there. Otherwise, quietly ask the next person. Try not to make noises. Sometimes it's better even to just pay obeisances to the lordship. If this is happening at the temple, to pay obeisances to the lordship from wherever you are, right? And especially don't disturb the class by saying, sorry, I'm late. you are already late. No, you're disturbing the class like that, because it disturbs the thought process of everybody who's in the class. And then utilize technology, right? For example, in this class, we have this, that we prefer you raise your hand, which you did, right? Now, sometimes a teacher might not see the hand because limited by technology, cannot see the hand raised, right? Then at the appropriate moment, if you think, and the idea there is ask, humility should be there, coming from the heart, that, maybe what I'm going to speak is pertinent. And sometimes might happen that the teacher for no reason might just not see your hand, or apparently to you, it might appear that they're ignoring your hand. Or sometimes the teacher can anticipate the question you are going to ask, and they know they're going to cover that in a few, paragraphs from now or a few sentences from now. Sometimes they might not want to disturb the flow of their speaking like that. But it's always a good thing when you are in the company of Vaishnavas to pay respect to the fact that everybody is a Vaishnava. every devotee has to be respected. And actually, Krishna feels more happy when we respect his devotees than when we respect Krishna. Like that. But good question that you asked, Mataji. Yeah.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna, all devotees.
And I should maybe go and look at, yeah. Okay, so should we continue? Should we continue with Indra, where we were? What do you say?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay, so so Indra did nothing, right? He did nothing, and then his spiritual master got offended. So by not doing, he did something. But he insulted his spiritual master, and his spiritual master has gone away. Right now, we have to remember that Indra is a devotee, right? Indra is a devotee, no matter what he does. He's a devotee of the Lord. So then Indra, the king of heaven, could immediately understand his mistake. Realizing he had disrespected his spiritual master, he condemned himself in the presence of all the members of the assembly. Alas, what a regrettable deed I have committed because of my lack of intelligence and my pride in my material opulences. I failed to show respect to my spiritual master. So here is a verb, that is the karma. To show respect to my spiritual master when he entered his assembly, and thus I have insulted him. Although I am the king of the demigods who are situated in the mode of goodness, I was proud of a little opulence and polluted of false ego. Under the circumstances, who in this world would accept such riches at the risk of falling down? Alas, I condemn my wealth and my opulence. If a person says one who is situated on the exalted throne of a king should not stand up to show respect to another king or a brahmana, it is to be understood that he does not know the superior religious principles. Leaders who have fallen into ignorance and who mislead people by directing them to the path of destruction, are in effect boarding a stone boat, and so too are those who blindly follow them. A stone boat would be unable to float and would sink in the water with its passengers. Similarly, those who mislead people go to hell, and their followers go with them. Indra said, therefore, with great frankness and without duplicity, I shall now bow my head at the lotus feet of Brihaspati, the spiritual master of the demigods. Because he is in the mode of goodness, he is fully aware of all knowledge and is the best of the brahmanas. Now I shall touch his lotus feet and offer my obeisances unto him to try to satisfy him. While Indra, the king of the demigods, thought in this way and repented in his own assembly, Brihaspati, the most powerful spiritual master, understood his mind. Thus he became invisible to Indra and left home, for Brihaspati was spiritually more powerful than King Indra. Although Indra searched vigorously with the assistance of other demigods, he could not find Brihaspati. Then Indra thought, alas, my spiritual master has become dissatisfied with me, and now I have no means of achieving good fortune. Although Indra was surrounded by demigods, he could not find peace of mind. Hearing of the pitiable condition of King Indra, the demons, following the instructions of their spiritual master, Shukracharya. So imagine what a networking service that is there. Here up in the heavens, Indra has insulted his spiritual master. And in other places where the demons live, their spiritual master, master actually, Shukracharya, has found this information and is immediately telling them, like, look here, now Indra has fallen from the grace of his spiritual master. You go and attack. Right? And we know the rest of the story, that the demons won. They won that war. Indra lost everything that was there. And who was then put on the throne of the heavens? Who occupied his throne? Do you know? Do you remember?
Bali Maharaj.
Bali Maharaj. There you go. Right? And then Krishna had to come as
Vamandev.
Vamandev, exactly, right? To come as Vamandev to get the thing back for Indra, right? So Indra did not do anything, right? And that became an offense to the spiritual master. And then after that, but he did something. He repented, right? And for Indra, who is the king of all the demigods, he was repenting and cursing himself right in that assembly where you see all those people who are there in assembly, who are out there in the assembly, we read that Charanas, Vidyadharas, the Apsaras, the Gandharvas, the other saintly people, right? All of them are there. So in front of all of them, and he's the king of all of them, in front of all of them, he's saying that I made a mistake. I'm sorry. But did saying I'm sorry, did it help? Right? It did not help. Right? So we have to understand. We have to understand one thing that is coming from here about the karma is that karmic reactions do not nullify each other. For every action, there is an
Equal and opposite.
Opposite reaction.
equal and opposite reaction. It could be good or it could be bad depending on what you did, right? But it doesn't nullify each other. So you cannot say that I'm going to perform, bad activities and then I'm going to observe Ekadashi Vrata. So 2 days of the month, I'm going to do Vrata. 28 days of the month, I'm going to indulge in Vikarma. Like that. No. So we have to understand this, that even if it is good activities, you are bound to get the results. If it is bad activities, it's very clear. You will get the results of the bad activity. Right? So, but good and bad karma, they do not nullify each other. It will stay. So then this looks like to be a very miserable situation for us, right? What can I do? I will act according to my consciousness. I'll do bad and good things. What can I do, right? What do I do? How do I get out of this situation? And it's a good question to ask that, how do I get out of this place? Right? Because that should be my biggest dilemma. How do I get out of here? What have I done? Right? How do I get rid? This is very dangerous, right? So let's look at Ishopanishad, right? Anybody remember Ishopanishad? What does mantra 0 Ishopanishad say? Very famous verse.
Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkinchancha.
Wow. Close, but not close. 0. What's 0?
Oh, Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnasya Gacchate something Purnadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate.
Vashishyate, right? Here, Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. So what does it mean? The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete. And because he's completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself because he's the complete whole. Even though so many complete wholes emanate from him, he remains a complete balance. So we see the picture of Mahavishnu, right, lying on the causal ocean. And he's in Yoga Nidra. And from the pores of his body, what is coming out? Parshana Mataji? From the pores of his body, what comes out?
Universes.
Different planets.
Universes come out, right? So all these universes come out. And so Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamidasite. So Vishnu is complete. So after a few years, do we see Vishnu's body with holes in it? Because all these universes have come out of it. Right? Like for us, we are not Purnam, right? The doctor takes out one tooth and the tongue goes there into that hole all the time. Right? So when things are taken out from us, there is a gap that remains. We are not, we can't fulfill ourselves. We're not ever fulfilling. But Lord is like that, Purnamada Purnamidam. And Varshana Mataji is raising her mechanical hand, which I saw.
Mataji, when mother gives a birth to the child, she also remains the complete after giving birth.
Do you think so? In the process of giving birth to a child, mother remains complete? Does she say that?
She looks complete. I don't know.
She looks complete, yeah. But there are stuff that gets taken out from her. Actually, yeah. they said, and I read somewhere, I don't have the exact figures, but more chemicals are taken out from a mother's body when making a female child than when making a male child. And so, and if the mother doesn't eat while she's carrying the child, the embryo is a parasite, in the sense like how parasites will be on your body and take away for their needs. So if the mother doesn't eat anything, the embryo will even extract things from the mother's bone marrow to survive, like that. So the mother does get repleted. But the thing is, why you don't see it is that we replenish it, right? The replenishment is also going on like that, but the replenishment is coming from outside, right? Like, oh, you just now gave birth, I'm going to get you the halwa, that, what is that? The laddus. You eat this, right? So there is replenishment going on. But who is replenishing? Vishnu? Right? He's self-contained. That's why we say he's self-contained, he's self-satisfied, right? That is why he is Vishnu. Okay, so Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purna. So now you're saying that everything that emanates from his is also a complete whole. So now if we were to say that, okay, so from there this universe came, and inside this universe there's this planet Earth, right? So within this planet Earth also everything is complete. This planet Earth is complete in itself. And what I mean by that is that if Sukumal Radha Mataji wants to prepare some food here, she doesn't have to go to planet Moon to do her grocery shopping. She will do here. Whatever she needs for her survival is here in this planet, right? And so those of you who pursue Ayurveda and other natural systems of medicine, you also know that wherever the disease happens, right? You know that certain diseases will happen only on certain parts of this globe. Certain diseases are unheard of in India, but they happen here. Certain diseases happen in India, but they are unheard of here, right? But whichever land the disease appears, in that same area, the cure is also there. There will be some herb, available that we don't know of, unfortunately, but it is there. So even if you're sick, the cure is also available in the same planet, like that, right? So it is a complete whole. So remember, this is one thing that it told about God in each Upanishad, that Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. Okay, now let's go to the next verse. Very, very important. And next verse is what so Devi Mataji was saying, Isha Vasyamidam Sarvam Yat Kincha Jagatyam Jagat Tena Tyaktena Bhunjita Magradha Kasya Svidhanam. Very, very important words. Everything animate or inanimate which is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things knowing well to whom they belong. What do you think about that?
Yeah, recently I was looking at a video on minimalism, where they were saying, like, if you're throwing anything, like even any food or any vegetables or anything which you couldn't use, they rotted because you had too much in your fridge or something. That is also we are taking away more than our needs, what we actually need. So we should understand what is needed for us and use only that much for our needs and leave the rest for the other people, because Krishna has made it for everyone, and we should not become over greedy to take everything for our own self.
Right. And so the important thing to understand over here is Koda. And Prabhupada in one of his purports, he explains that very nicely, and maybe in this one, he explains it very nicely. He says that if you take a bag of grain, right, wheat or rice, and you leave it by the side of the road, right? The road is there, people are walking, going back here and there, and then a bird from the top, she sees it, and then she goes, cheep, 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 cheep. She will beep, 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 tell all the other birds, and then they will come, they will pick one and grain and fly away, another one fly away, maybe go to the nest and give it to the kids, come back again, take some and go away. And that's it. When they are full, they don't come, right? And then maybe a cow will come, right? A cow will also eat from this bag, and then the cow is full, the cow will go away. What happens when the man sees the bag?
He'll come and take the bag itself,
Your bag
because
is
he doesn't want to just eat for now, but he want to save it for future. He want to feed his family and also save it for future. Like that, he has a hoarding mentality.
Hoarding mentality, and free, free hoarding mentality. It's for free, right? So we hoard. And so what he's saying is, well, so this was a very gross example of, birds being satisfied with whatever was the quota. Like, I've been given this much of stomach, right? This much of stomach, I'll only take this much. And birds have small stomach because they have to fly. And so they have a small stomach. As soon as the stomach is full, they won't just, do anything. A little bit of the hoarding mentality is in the squirrel, right? But the squirrel does it also for the purposes of winters when there is no food available, right? For the squirrel. But that's not the situation with the human beings. I mean, we get food at the grocery 24/7, Safeway is open, right? So, so the bird will eat according to the quota that has been provided to the bird, and then and beyond that quota, it will not ask for more beyond that quota, right? Now, in contrast, when you look at the human beings, we also have a quota. We have a stomach, but it can expand. How much can the stomach expand? And that's a body I've been provided by Brahma. He has engineered the body in such a way. How much can I get? Can the stomach expand? Does anybody know? Any biology students here? No biology student? Then I can get away with any answer I give. Nobody will question me. So let's see if Vidyavati is watching on Facebook. She's going to call me tonight and tell me. Okay, anyways, I've heard that the human being's stomach can grow in size to 40 times, 40. Right? And so what also happens is that so it'll expand, and then, as you eject out the food, it'll contract also. There's expansion and contraction, but it loses its elasticity, right? Sometimes we have elastic pants or something like that, and they lose the elasticity because you put them in hot water. And then what happens? You stretch them and they stay stretched. So the stomach also stays stretched. And so that fullness, the feeling of full stomach is not there. So the person will keep on eating. So slowly what happens is you first start eating one chapati because that's what your stomach could accommodate, and then we eat more, and the stomach expand, and then we get in the habit of eating more. So the stomach stays at 2 chapati level, and if you want to enjoy more, we put in one more chapati, it'll expand to accommodate like that, and then stay there. So next time you will not get a feeling of full stomach till you put 3 chapatis in it, like that, right? So it expands. So this desire to hoard and to increase. So that's why sometimes when people become very obese and it becomes a health risk for them, the doctors will stitch their stomach and make it a small size again, right? So all those kind of things are there. So this is because of our nature of being enjoyers. By nature, we want to enjoy. Why do we want to enjoy? Why are we enjoyers, by the way?
soul wants to enjoy, Mataji.
Yeah, but why is the soul an enjoyer?
Soul has the desire.
Krishna is the greatest enjoyer, and we are his part and parcel children.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah. Mame vancho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha. Right. So we are all parts and parcel of Krishna, and Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. So that enjoying tendency is also with us. And to fulfill our enjoying tendency, this body has been given. Actually, the varieties of bodies have been given 8,400,000 or 84 lakh, as they say. Types of bodies have been given so that we can enjoy in so many different ways, right? And the tongue, have you ever noticed how big the dog's tongue is? It's long, right? Longer than ours. Like if we hang our tongue out, try to hang our tongues out of the mouth. How much can I stress? It won't even touch the lower part of my chin, right? But the dog's tongue, it's a long one, right? Now on this tongue, there are taste buds, right? And our human tongue is made in such a way that we can, at a given time, acknowledge and enjoy through the tongue 8,000 different kinds of tastes. 8,000. So that enjoyment tendency, can be fulfilled, in so many different ways. For example, vegetables, sweet and sour. What is it? Is it sweet or is it sour, right? But you're able to enjoy it. You put the vegetable sweet and sour in your mouth, it is sweet, it is sour, everything like that, right? Recently, I was reading some article on, I'm forgetting what was the name of the company, whether it was Nestle or it's some chocolate making company, right? Now, we all know chocolate is bad for health, right? It's got sugar in it, it's got oil and all that's bad for health. So they said that they have come up with some special, they're doing something to the way they manufacture sugar and the sugar crystals. So the sugar crystals will be hollow. The sugar crystals are going to be hollow, which basically means that if the crystal is of this size, if it is hollow, there's less sugar in it, right? But if it's solid and the same size, there's more sugar in it. So they're going to make chocolate with sugar, which has got hollow crystals in it. So that, see, it's all about what touches the surface of your tongue, right? So it's all about the surface of the sugar thing, right? So the same sugar cube, which is hollow, sugar crystal, which is hollow, will give you the same sensation as a sugar which is solid, crystal which is solid. So less sugar will go into your mouth for the same amount of sense gratification. So you can see how much of work is being done in the mode of passion. A lot of research must have gone into that. They must have paid millions of dollars to researchers to come up with this brand, right, of sugar and then make this brand of chocolate. But this is what happens. So people enjoy. And these artificial means, right, of enjoyment is saying, no, tena tyaktena bhunjita magada kasya. You just do whatever has been set aside for you. And what has been set aside for you? It says, patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prarachati. Right? You just offer me patram pushpam phalam and toyam. And that's it. You eat that prasadam then later on. We are not saying now you go and mercilessly kill animals to enjoy the taste buds. Do not do that. This is what this verse is saying. Tena tyaktena bhundicha. So if you live your life understanding that Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam, Krishna is a complete controller of the life. Your karmas, right? Whatever action that you're doing, if your actions are based on this particular knowledge, that Krishna is the supreme controller, everything emanates from Krishna, and I'm going to consume only whatever is my quota. And your quota is what your needs are. There is enough for every man's need, but there is not enough for a single man's
Want.
greed, or want, right? So this whole world is complete in itself, but it was not satisfying the greed of Ravana, who wanted to build a staircase to go to the heavens. Right? You're done with enjoying all the women here in this material world, in this planet Earth. Now you want to go and explore others like that, right? So don't do that. And so if we live by this particular understanding, right, then what happens? Let's see what Ishopanishad is going to tell us here. So we said here, everything animate and inanimate is controlled. That was the verse. And now let's go to verse number 2 of Ishopanishad. Kurvan iveha karmani jiji vishe chatam samaha. Evam tvai nanyate tosti na karma lipyate nare. There's a karma here. Okay, let's see. One may aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on working in that way. For that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. And then comes the important statement. There is no alternative to this way for man. And Prabhupada says, no one wants to die. Everyone wants to live as long as they can drag on. This tendency is visible not only individually, but also collectively in the community, society, and nation. There's a hard struggle for life by all kinds of living entities, and the Vedas say that it is quite natural. The living being is eternal by nature, but due to his bondage in material existence, he has to change his body over and over. This process is called transmigration of the soul, or karma bandhan, bondage by one's work. The living entity has to work for his livelihood because this is the law of material nature. And if he does not act according to his prescribed duties, he transgresses the law of nature and binds himself more and more to the cycle of birth and death in many species of life. Other forms of life are also subject to the cycle of birth and death, but when the living entity attains a human life, he gets a chance to get free from the chains of karma. Karma, akarma, and vikarma are very clearly described in Bhagavad-gita, verse number 4.17, which we are doing today. Actions that are performed in terms of one's prescribed duties, as mentioned in the revealed scriptures, are called karma. Actions that free one from the cycle of birth and death are called akarma, and actions that are performed to the misuse of one's freedom and that direct one to the lower forms of life are called vikarma. So actions that free one from the cycle of birth and death is called akarma. Actions performed in terms of one's prescribed duties, as mentioned in the revealed scriptures, are called karma. So if the revealed scriptures are telling you that go and cut, 600 turkeys and make a soup and give it to others, then, then you can say it is karma. If not, if the Shastras are not telling you to do that, then it is actually a vikarma, trying to do things which are not in accordance with the scripture. Right? So here the word akarma was used, and I said, I always bring this to mind that when we are trying to understand, and we did that example last week, right? We said that just don't take things literally. For example, out of context is what I mean. In the verse 2.47 of Bhagavad-gita, it says, Karmaneva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana nate karma sangha hetu bhur nate akarmosti. Right? Don't get attached to not doing your work. So there, akarma is listed as not doing your work. But here he's saying, akarmanasta bodhavyam. So here he's saying that you understand what is akarma. So understand that there in that concept, the language is like that. The same word can mean different things. So there Krishna is saying that do not be attached to not doing your duty. Because this is opening. This is chapter number 2. Arjuna has just started listening to Krishna. So he's Krishna is telling Arjuna that Arjuna, do not be attached to not doing your duty. You are a Kshatriya. It's your duty to fight. Right? So the duty to fight. So you should fight. Don't be attached. But here in the 4th chapter, he's talking about akarma. He's taking Arjuna to the next level of consciousness, right? And explain that akarma is when you are actually doing your activities, not for yourself, not for your enjoyment, but for the enjoyment of Krishna, right? So sometimes, people just think that, okay, this one, it was Arjuna's duty to fight. So this is my duty. This is my duty to do. Or when sometimes, somebody leaves their family and takes sannyas. Doesn't happen much these days, not recommended much these days, but in the older period, it was happening. People used to do that, right? Or a son does not get married and the parents are saying that you're not adhering to and taking care of the putra dharma, right? So putra's dharma, one of the dharma of the son, and of course of the daughter also, is to produce more children, because they got a body from their parents and now they should produce one more body. So that's how they get rid of the death that they have, right? So devarshi bhutapta nirnam pritinam naking karo nayam ranicha rajam sarvatmanaya sharanam sharanyam gato mukundam pariharta krityam. So it says that when a person is born, he has got lots of debts to fulfill, right? There is a debt to the parents, who got the body. There's a debt to the ancestors because your parents got the body from them and the samskaras came from there. There's debt to the king who's going to take care of you, the debt to the nurse, debt to Mother Earth, debt to the guru, like that, and debt to the other people who are around you, the ward boys, the nurses, like that. So there is a debt that we all have and people fulfill. And to do that, there are scriptural injunctions and guidance on how you're going to do that, right? But this verse says that if a person neglects to do all these things, but focuses on gato mukundam parihirta kartum, he dedicates his whole life to the service of Mukunda, right, Krishna, then it doesn't matter that he did not pay his debts, right? Otherwise, we know what happens if you don't pay your debts, then the collections department is after you. You don't pay back your credit card bills or your electricity bill, you'll get a letter in your mailbox very soon, like that, right? So, but similarly, if we incur debt and we do not get rid of that debt in this life, it carries over to the next life, and next life, and next life, and next life. It's up to us and how much do we accumulate the backlog. However, if we do not do that, if we instead, give up all that, you don't pay our debts, we don't do any service to the parent, to the king, to the nation, or whatever, you don't do that, but instead you have engaged your life in spreading Krishna consciousness, and you're improving your Krishna consciousness, spreading Krishna consciousness. If you have done that, then that's okay. This is what this particular verse says, right? And there's a very nice verse also from Bhagavatam that comes up. And let me just bring up that verse also here. Tvaktvat sadharmam charanam bhujam hare bhajanna pakko thapate tato yadi yatra kopa patram abhudamushyakim kovarta apto bhajatam swadharmataha. Very nice. One who has forsaken his material occupations to engage in the devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage. Yet there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee, though fully engaged in occupational duties, does not gain anything. So I'm going to pause over here, and we have some few minutes more left, and take reflections or questions or anything that you like to share here.
Mataji, can you please share the just last verse one more time?
Dharma?
Yeah.
Okay. It is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 1, chapter is 5, and the verse number is 17.
The translation.
Here. One who has forsaken his material occupations to engage in the devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in an immature state. Yet there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee, although fully engaged in occupational duty, does not gain anything. As far as the duties of mankind are concerned, there are innumerable duties. Every man is duty bound, not only to his parents, family members, society, country, humanity, and other living beings, the demigods, etc. Devarshi, Bhutapta, Nirnam, Pritinam, right? All these, but also to the great philosophers, poets, scientists, etc. It is enjoined in the scripture that one can relinquish all such duties and surrender unto the service of the Lord. So if one does so and becomes successful in the discharge of his devotional service unto the Lord, it is well and good. But it so happens sometimes that one surrenders himself unto the service of the Lord by some temporary sentiment, and in the long run, due to so many other reasons, he falls down from the path of service by undesirable association. There are so many instances of this in the history. Bharat Maharaj was obliged to take birth as a stag or a deer due to his intimate attachment to a stag. He thought of this stag when he died. As such, in the next birth, he became a stag, although he did not forget the incident of his previous birth. Similarly, Chitraketu also fell down due to his offenses at the feet of Lord Shiva. But in spite of all this, the stress is given here to surrendering unto the lotus feet of the Lord, even if there is a chance of falling down, because even though one falls down from the prescribed duties of devotional service, he will never forget the lotus feet of the Lord. Once engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, one will continue the service in all circumstances. In the Bhagavad-gita, it is said that even a small quantity of devotional service, Nehabhikramo nashosti prattavayo na vidyate, 2.40, can save one from the most dangerous situation. Trayate mahato bhayat, right? Most dangerous situation. There are many instances of such examples in history. Ajamil is one of them. Ajamila, in his early life, was a devotee, but in his youth, he fell down. Still, he was saved by the Lord at the end. So, one who has forsaken his material occupations to engage in the devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in his immature state, yet there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee, though fully engaged in occupational duties, does not gain anything. And there's a very famous verse that comes later in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. It says, Yasyasti bhakti bhagavati akinchana sarver gunes tatra samasate suraha harava bhaktasya kuto mahadguna manorathena sati dhavato bahihi. So what that means, it means is that one who is a devotee of the Lord, yasyasti bhakti bhagavati akinchana. So one who does that, bhakti to the Lord, sarver gune tasya samasate suraha. Suraha means the demigod. So all the good qualities of the demigod reside in the body of a person who is dedicated to the Lord, who is a devotee of the Lord. On the other hand, right? So vidyams cha vidyams. Yes, so they are explaining what happens if a person is a devotee. But this verse is also explaining what is not a devotee and what happens to one. So harav abhaktasya. A means opposite. Bhaktas is bhakta. Abhaktas means not a bhakta. So harav abhaktasya, one who is not a bhakta of the Lord. Harav abhaktasya kuto mahadguna. Where are the good qualities in one who is not devotee? No good qualities. We might say that he's a beautiful dancer, he's a beautiful singer, she's so beautiful, he's so beautiful, sings so nicely, whatever. No good qualities at all. Harav abhaktasya kuto mahadguna. Manorathena sittavato vahi. What does he do? He sits down on the chariot of his mind. He sits down on the chair. Manorath. Man rath. He sits on the chariot of his mind, and what does he go? Dhavato. Runs or moves in a fast way. What does he do? Where? Bahihi. Outside. Outside means, not going inside to the Paramatma, but outside into this material world. So you sit on the chariot of your mind and you are guided by your senses. The senses gather all the information for you from the outside world. Right? Senses will gather all that information from the outside world. They are gathering information. For example, a child goes out into the garden and a child sees that there is a tree, and on that tree, not in the garden, but the child is walking by the roadside and coming home from the school, walking back, and he sees that by the roadside, he sees a nice shrub, a bush, and on that bush, there are many ripe, juicy, red berries. How does he know? The eyes. The eyes have gone, collected that information that there's red, nice, beautiful berry on the tree, right? Child eats it and dies. Why? Because everything that is red and shiny and looks like a berry is not eatable. It could be a poisonous berry, right? So your senses are there. They will capture the knowledge about, the information, the knowledge about things that are around you. But just gathering the data is not important. The data was, okay, it is red, it looks ripe, it's small, it'll fit in my mouth, it is low hanging, I can pluck it, right? So all that information the eyes gather, right? But then there has got to be the knowledge also behind it that says that this is poisonous, this particular berry is poisonous, right? Then even after that, even after having that knowledge, a person can still say that I'm still going to eat it. I think I should still eat it. Why? Because the intelligence is not guiding it properly, right? So that is why it is important for us to have knowledge, and that knowledge will come to us from a spiritual master or from the scriptures, like that, right? Otherwise, what is karma? What is vikarma? We have to do that under the guidance of a spiritual master. It's difficult, karmana gati. It is very gahana karmano gati. It's very difficult to understand the intricacies of karma, like that, yeah. But good observation, Asatapa Mataji, you're catching the right verse. It's a verse to memorize and live it. And it's an encouraging verse. It's a very encouraging verse, right?
Yes. Okay, thank you, Mataji. I have to leave.
You have to leave. So do I. Anything else? Anybody? Yeah, but thank you. I appreciate you staying till 10:30 in the night, your time, to attend to Krishna Katha. That's really, it's a...
Mataji, I just wait for Saturday.
That's a good thing to wait. Yeah. This desire to hear Krishna Katha is, actually progress in devotional service is directly proportional to the desire to listen to Krishna Katha. It shows progress when a person just wants to hear all the time. Yeah.
Hari Bol.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. So thank you for joining.
She has really gone, climbed the steps very fast.
There you go.
No, Mataji, I have a long way, long. I'm just, I don't know, very,
But one of
very.
one of the things that
That's really
somebody brought to
amazing.
me today, brought to me today, and that was very interesting. And it was like, if you give a ladder to people, they will climb. It's such a natural tendency, right? To give a ladder.
Yeah.
And so the guru shows you the ladder to go to God. And we know we have an innate tendency to climb. So we will climb. Somebody just has to show you the way, which Prabhupada did by translating this books. Prabhupada ki jai.
And,
Yeah.
and Ravana unnecessarily was trying so hard
To make that staircase. Yes.
a ladder to go to the Swarga.
Yes, yeah.
So we'll meet tomorrow morning, Mataji.
We will meet tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Anything else anybody wants to bring up before we call it a day? Simi Mataji, are you asking something?
No, I'm just.
Mataji? Should we call it a day here then on this call? Karmana Gati? Varshana, are you saying something?
Mother, when I read this karma, akarma, and vikarma is abominable, which you should not do. Karma is, Mataji, where you are expecting the fruitive result. Is it right?
I know in both the cases, in karma and vikarma, both of them, we are expecting some results. Like a person goes and murders somebody else, right? He wanted his property. So, but he has done vikarma because you're not supposed to kill, right? But he was still focused on the results of it, right? And sometimes a person does a good job, a good work. That is, if I give charity and give so many cows in donation, then I will go to the heavenly planets. So he will go to the heavenly planet. He's done a good job. He will go to the heavenly planet sooner or later, right? So karma is something that will get you good results. Vikarma is something that will give you bad results because it's against the scriptures. Karma is something that will give you good results because it is according to the scriptures, right? And then in the middle of that was akarma. Akarma is when you have gone beyond that. And when you've gone beyond that and you are doing something purely for Krishna. And because you're doing it purely for Krishna, then your eyes are not on the results. In the result, your eyes are not in the sense that what am I going to get of the result, right? When you're doing something for Krishna, so here's the interesting thing that you could be doing some service to Krishna. You could be doing some service to Krishna and so when we're doing something for Krishna, you can go through 3 stages like that. So one stage is that I don't even know how to cook. Whatever will come, it'll come, let me just do it. And I will do it, right? So lowest level. Then after some time, because of doing this act of service for so many times, your love grows towards Krishna. The attachment is developing towards Krishna. And then you will be like, oh, I can't, you're making a prasadam, a bhoga plate. You're like, I can't put it so hot. Like, I'm just cooking in the pot and just immediately put it and serve it to Krishna. It's very hot. His mouth will burn. Like that, so it goes to that level. And while you're cooking, it's always like, I don't know whether it will become nice or not. I don't know whether it'll come nice or not. That worry is there. So you are focused on the result, right? But the focus is for Krishna's enjoyment and not for your enjoyment. You see the difference, right? Yeah. So the person can be focused on the result. Then you go to an even higher level after that. And you're like, I'm doing my best. And I know Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. Whether the food comes good or not is entirely Krishna's, nature. And whatever Krishna wants is entirely in Krishna's hands. So whatever Krishna wants will happen. So there's complete surrender. And there's a sweet surrender to Krishna. That, I'm making it for Krishna. I really want it to be good for you, Krishna. But, Krishna, I know whatever you want, that is what it'll happen. Right? Like that. Yeah. There was this interesting story on prasadam. I half recollect, might not be 100% accurate, but I think the essence is there. Is that there were these set of devotees who used to prepare food for Krishna, prasadam, bhoga, sorry. And so one day they made something very super delicious and super tasty. And they spent the whole time, a lot of ghee and sugar and whatnot was required in there. So they made all that. And so they were so focused on it. And then they were almost up to the end of bhoga offering time. And they made the plate, and then the pujari came and said, okay, looked at it and counted the katoris, and he said, hey, but we always make 5 and you have made only 4 today. How can you do that? Because the rules in the temple are strict, right? So now they were very, very perplexed as to what had happened. And then they started feeling bad, and they said, Krishna, what happened? Where did you go wrong? We cooked so hard for Krishna with so much of love and affection. We put all our concentration in making this nice special dish for him. And we missed out on the 5th one. And then one of them had a brainwave and said that, okay, let's make some karela bhaji, something really quickly that will come. So they quickly chopped some thin karelas and then fried them and added some salt and this thing and made the 5th thing also. And they offered it to Krishna. And then later on, the very next day, somebody told them that the dish that they were making is very heavy dish and causes indigestion. And to control that indigestion, people eat karela with it. So you never know what are Krishna's ways and how Krishna communicates with you and through various people. And, you might think, but ultimately they were so happy that they were chastised by the priest for not making all the 5 katoris. And that's why they made the 5th katori, and Krishna inspired somebody to make karela that day and things like that. So it's a very sweet exchange, and devotional service at that level happens. It's beyond the material. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing.
I think Govind Charan Prabhu, I think, shared that with me. I'm not remembering. Okay. So we have Niral Prabhu here and Namazia Mataji, Meera Mataji. Okay, very nice. So Niral Prabhu, do you have something to show us here? I don't know, you're on mute. Namazia, loving it.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Danvat Pranam.
Danvat Pranam Mataji. Not yet, Mataji. She just had a bath. She's
a bath? Oh, right.
Brushing her up, so it may take a few minutes. So, yeah.
Okay.
But thank you so much for the wonderful. I have been listening. I think it's very. It helps to really keep on getting these vibrations, and then we get back to our dose of spiritual. Otherwise, we get so much sucked into the day-to-day activities that is much required, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Very well. Thank you for that. Actually, Jayashri Mataji from Apara Gurangi Mataji met her at the temple, and so Jayashri, a lady by the name Jayashri, and she's in Fremont, and she joined our class today. So I was telling her that we have more devotees in Fremont also.
Oh, sure. Okay.
We can, yeah.
There is a Fremont group also for ISKCON devotees.
Oh, very nice. Okay.
Here is Krishna. Hari Bol.
Hey, very nice.
Say Hare Krishna. Say Radharani ki Jai.
Nothing.
More interested in looking.
After this call is over, she will say Jai. Jai.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. She said it today.
Srila Prabhupada ki.
Now she loves kirtan. Anytime you play kirtan with the mridanga, she goes like more.
Even more?
Yes.
More?
Yeah. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Radharani ki Jai.
There is like that wave of happiness that comes along with it. First you wonder on everything, and then it's like the wave.
I think after we speak up, after some time, she just keep on saying Jai, 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 Jai. It's like a buffered up.
The buffer, yeah. I was just saying that moment we get off this call is when she will say all the
yeah. What happened last year? Yeah.
But today I heard a Jai. Today a Jai.
Yeah. Here. Jai.
Radharani ki Jai.
Jai, Jai, Jai.
Keshvi, you got a Hare Krishna from India.
Hey, Hare
Vidyavatu is saying,
Bol.
he's saying Hare
All the
Bol.
devotees,
Jai.
my Dandvat Pranam, my Dandvat Pranam.
Please
My
bless
Dandvat
me
Pranam.
that I keep increasing my spiritual
And I do
inclination.
all the activities that are favorable to Krishna.
You do?
Bless me. Please bless me that I do that.
Very nice. Very
We,
nice.
we require that blessings for lifelong.
We all do.
Mataji, you shifted to Fremont, Mataji?
Yes.
Oh, when did it happen?
A month ago, Mataji. Month and a half ago.
So you're no more in the
but
peninsula.
yeah, but she's
These
closer to
are
you
global
now,
goods.
I think she's closer to you now, Sudevi. You just
Yeah,
take
Menlo
84.
Park.
You take 84 and then
Oh, I didn't know Fremont
you
is
are at
close.
Menlo Park or Palo Alto? Which one is yours?
Yeah, I think
I'm at Menlo Park.
Menlo Park,
Okay.
right?
Okay. I thought Palo Alto. Okay.
Yeah, I'm at Menlo Park, Mataji.
Very nice.
Yeah. So
Very
there